Welcome to Let's Talk Dog Business, a brand new podcast that is going to delve into the dog profession, both from an industry point of view and also from external sources as well.
So, why are we doing a podcast?
It's a great question. We wanted to do a podcast because we're two dog professionals. We're dog trainers, behaviourists, whatever you want to call us, label us, whatever. And we have had moments, let's say, of high elation where we've really thoroughly enjoyed what we're doing, but also lots of shit moments as well, where it's been quite tricky, not really known where to turn to get any support or advice, and ultimately have struggled with the balance of obtaining far too much CPD versus actual business knowledge, which ultimately is what I have personally found more beneficial to me to be able to grow to a point now where I've got a really nice work-life balance.
Yeah, same for me. And I feel like we've got so many ideas and so many things that we want to share to others to A, avoid making the same mistakes as us if you've not started yet, and B, for those that have and have reached points of thinking, is this business thing right for me? Is this something I can sustain?
Yeah.
Is it something that makes me enough money? Is it something that I enjoy anymore? Like all of those things is what we hear quite often. And we'd really like the podcast is a way that we want to be able to get that message across, and people can just hear it and hear our inner thoughts and our musings. And
I think it's shining a light on the industry, isn't it? But from our point of view, from being on the ground, fully immersed in it, the highs and the lows, the truth of our journeys and what those look like. But then also the thing that I'm quite looking forward to is getting all of these amazing guest people on, because I think the interview bit is going to be providing such useful and valuable information that for me personally, I do not think is out there for the dog profession.
Yeah, and we want the nitty gritty from these people, don't we? We don't want to just vanilla it over and just skirt over these things. We want to really, we feel like this is so missing in the industry, to drill into it and to really understand how people feel, and to really understand for the people that have made massive success stories, how they've done it.
Yeah, exactly that. So this podcast is going to be all about people being incredibly honest with their stuff. We're going to be asking hard-hitting questions, and I personally want to be going into, like you say, that nitty-gritty of, well, how much were you earning when you started as to how much are you earning now, and has that changed who you are as a person? Has that changed how you deliver your service? Do clients respect you more or less, or are you attracting better clients? All of that kind of stuff. But I'm looking forward to getting the answers from people of, well, what are you earning, and what does your life look like, and how are you able to do everything else around?
And the other thing that we want to kind of focus on as well, don't we, is that money feels like it is a dirty word to some people.
Yeah.
And we feel like if we focus on money, we take our focus off the dogs.
Yeah.
I think would you agree that that's an industry, ingrained industry kind of thought, is that we go, well, we're in it for the dogs. Yes, we all are in it for the dogs. It's not a profession you would choose to do if you didn't think of the dogs first, and foremost. However, we're also in it for us as well.
Yeah, and you have to be. You've got your own bills to pay, you've got family to look out for, you've got friends you maybe want to look out for. You want to be able to do things, and ultimately if you want to give back and do more for people and more for dogs, I'm sorry to say it, but money is going to help you do that. And it's not a dirty word. There is enough money to go around, there are enough dogs to go around, which actually kind of leads us on to collaboration as well, and how that seems to be a bit of a dirty word. Everyone seems really for it, but then as soon as a new dog profession that's similar to yours, say a new dog trainer rocked up in your area, let's face it, at some point you would have gone, oh my God!
Resource guard it!
Why?
Resource guard my business.
Yeah, and you start to panic instead of going, actually, how can we collaborate? How can we do everything differently? So tell me a little bit about your journey then, Vicky. So where did you start? Why did you get into it? And kind of where are you now?
Yeah, so I originally started because I worked for a big rescue organisation, and I just had a passion, as most people do. Love dogs, want to work with them somehow, don't know how. And funny enough, I took a real risk. So we'll talk about my journey a lot more as we go through this podcast. And I'm not as a risk taker as Joe is. However, I think I took a big risk back in 2003, I want to say, when I first started working for the Blue Cross. I took a job where it was 6-month maternity cover, and at the end of that 6 months, I might not have had a job. And I went, I'll get 6 months experience of working with dogs, gets my foot in the door, gets me another job. So that's what I was thinking when I did it. Luckily, the girl never came back. Sorry, Zoe. She never came back, and that was it. I just loved it. I immersed myself in it. I became the dog behaviour advisor at the centre as well. And I just was like absorbed by everything behaviour. And so then it led me into that preventative, how can I stop these dogs either ending up in rescue in the first place, or how can I make them more rehomable if they do end up in rescue through unavoidable circumstances like relationship breakups, which was is one of the most common reasons why dogs are relinquished, is that the people break up and they've got rented accommodation, they can't take the dogs. So I went into running puppy classes for that reason. I was like, if we get people from the source and we give them the foundational skills, then at least those dogs have got a good resilience and they can kind of cope with these things if they do happen. And then, as a normal sort of journey with it, really, I started offering adolescents and follow-ons and many other types of classes, and we'll talk about this a bit more as we go along as well. But I was one of those that offered all these different types of things. I didn't want to let anybody go, and if anybody inquired that had a need for something, I usually invented a course to accommodate them. And so I was pretty much working all hours. I was earning enough to get by, but I ended up burning out, and I ended up becoming really frustrated at my clients and just feeling a bit unsatisfied with everything, really. And then I met you, and my outlook on everything changed, and I've had a real enlightening journey since then, and I've changed my business completely now, and it's unrecognisable really from the business that I started with, and I'm so much happier now. And then we met through that, we collaborated and we formed this business that we've got now, Canine Business Academy, and that's where we are. So your journey, Joe, is quite similar in some ways but different in other ways, because your background was more corporate, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did 16 years in corporate, so it was an ad agency, so quite marketing focused and very, very intense, like more often than not 80-hour weeks. Very, very intense. Got shouted at a lot by clients, like quite abusive shouting at as well. Really? Like, if your poster did not arrive on time, how dare you, and the stress that came with it. But weirdly, at the time, I thought I loved it. So we then got our husky, Leica, like 10-ish years ago now. And I got told by everybody, like, why are you getting a husky? You shouldn't get a husky. They're not a really good pet dog. They're really stubborn, all of this other stuff. And my personality type is very much a, screw you, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what I can do. So I enrolled into your bog standard kennel club puppy class. Did the bronze and silver award, I think they were, or still are called now.
I offered those as well, yeah.
Of course you did. Did those, and I was like, do you know what, I actually enjoy this, and how can I get into this even more? So then at the time, so about 10 years ago, Cesar Millan was actually quite big on TV.
Yeah.
And again, at that time, I don't feel like, I mean, there may have been, but I certainly wasn't privy to it, because I'd say that kind of dominated, pun intended, the actual media sphere, didn't it? Like, that was all that was kind of prevalent. All that
was out there, yeah.
So I ended up falling into, I did a course with, I think it's called the UK Dog Whisperer. So he was essentially the UK version of Caesar. And when I say a course, it was a village hall, and I got a little certificate for attending and sitting there whilst someone talked to me about all of these things that you do with dogs. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then he told me I could call myself a behaviourist from that one day.
I never knew this.
I was like, amazing. Okay, awesome.
That's how easy it is.
I know. So off I went. I still had my corporate job. So I started dabbling with it as a little side offering thing. And in all honesty, I didn't really know what I was doing, which I think now I'm 10 years down the line, it is fair to say a lot of people kind of fall into it. Maybe not necessarily the exact same way via that method. And I never actually used those methods. I definitely went in with going, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying to feel my way around it. Charging like £10 an hour-ish? Because for experience, for experience, give me 10 quid an hour so you can pay for my time and my petrol. And off I went. I didn't do that for very long because then I very quickly realised that this was not the right thing to do. So then I fell into some circles where they were talking more about positive ways of training and very much the psychology side of it, which piqued my interest. I was like, oh, this sounds quite interesting. Because I never really enjoyed the other stuff either. Like when I got told to try and practice it on my then puppy, I was like, it didn't ever really sit right with me. So then fell into doing some more positive stuff with some different trainers, started offering a few more one-to-one sessions, maybe packaged it up so you could buy maybe 2, 3 or 5 sessions. Did it part-time for a few years and then decided, no, do you know what? I need to do this all in. So I then went into that from a full-time point of view. Realised within about 4 months that I need to start looking at this as a business, because prior to that, it'd very much been a hobby. I was doing it weekends and evenings around work. I was like, no, I need to start looking at this, and my mindset was business. So I did invest more money than I needed to in the start because I thought I needed all this stuff like a fancy website. Definitely didn't, but what I did need was a coach. So I found...
A what?
I know. Went down the business coach route, and then 10 months later, the business had turned over 90 grand.
Wow.
And I've not looked back since.
That's it's pretty amazing, that is.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
You don't really realise it until you start looking back. But yeah, and I think since then, and then since meeting you, it just goes to show how much we are so passionate about this industry. Like we love dogs, we love the people side of it, shockingly. Yeah. And it's important for us to kind of share these stories and make sure that the public are perceiving the services that dog professionals are offering as something to be incredibly valued, but whilst also making sure that business owners have the support that they need in the dog profession to make sure that they're looking after themselves, they're looking at their business as a business, and they are creating a business around the life that they want to have. Whether that is aiming for 90 grand or if it's aiming for a steady 30k a year, both of which are absolutely acceptable things. Like, I'm personally one for, and I know you are now, I've turned you. Yeah. It's all push, 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 and we'll go for bigger and greater, but all from an ethical value standpoint. It's not about the money. The money is kind of coming as a natural growth of delivering amazing service and meeting new people and being able to do more.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the journey.
And even if it isn't the money that you'd like more of, it's that the work home life balance is the thing that we hear a lot of.
Yeah, it's a huge.
It's so thing. It's so off. Sorry, with trainers that think they've got to work every evening and weekend, and for many years that's what I did, and I felt like I couldn't not offer that because as a trainer we have to accommodate our clients and offer when they're free and they're not at work. But then I look at that now and go, well, how many businesses do that?
I was going to say, imagine,
you've just got to take time off.
Anything run from like 9 till 5, Monday through Friday.
What would exist? Nothing, because everything has to happen on an evening and a weekend. Yeah. Like everything else, you just go, oh, well, I've got to take an hour out or 2 hours out to do this because they only operate from this hour, this 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. or something. So it's having that shift in your mindset of going, we don't always have to just accommodate everybody else's needs. Like, we have to look at our own needs as well. And also that thing about we do it for the dogs and we do it for the love of the dogs. We feel that the big changes in the industry need to come from within it and the organisations within it to say, actually, is that offering the best thing for the dog? Is it the best thing for the client? Is just offering an ad hoc session, one session, enough to solve
Who
that
is
problem?
that going to benefit?
It's not, and it doesn't matter if it's a play biting puppy issue or if it's an aggression issue. Like, you're not going to solve either of those problems in one session.
Nope.
You're going to just touch on it, and then you're going to need more than that. So, as far as we're concerned, we're going, are you offering the right expectation for your client if you just offer one session? And you know that there's arguments both sides, but we've come to the conclusion after kind of offering both of those that we think that it should be more, and it shouldn't just be I offer 10 sessions. It should be there's a whole reasoning behind it, and there's a whole like journey that has to be gone on to understand why that might be the case in certain circumstances.
Yeah, so absolutely. So look out for future episodes, because we are going to delve into all of these things in great detail. We're going to be going into the nitty-gritty of how to start your business, how to do a sales and booking process, how to niche down, how to pull your packages together, how to work on your mindset,
how to work on your marketing and your social media and
everything.
All of that.
So let's talk dog business, and we look forward to seeing you on the rest of our episodes.